All right, so whenever you are ready, sir.
Okay, I shared my screen. Can you see it?
I can at that. Very good. I'll go ahead and request remote control just in case I do need it. And let's see, as it's still loading. Yeah, there we go. All right. Well,
Well, I have no mouse on my,
it says it's waiting for Ken Crawford to control your screen. I don't know what that means. If you went ahead and said go ahead, because I saw that and see I can do stuff here.
yeah, me too, but I can't go on the, well, let me show you what I'm trying to do. Uh, this is a brand new job I'm working on, and it's one that we worked on when we were Allegheny surveys.
Okay.
We did a boundary and topo, and Lisa had started on a concept plan for the owner. And it turned out that he had a restrictive covenant on it that he couldn't get out. After many trials and tribulations, we got Allegheny to send us a DWG, which he had already paid for.
Okay.
And this is it. So what I want to do is bring their drawing into mine. So I have all of my layers and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm going to go through and turn off a bunch of this stuff. Like for what I'm doing, I don't need topo.
All right.
Uh, At least not right now. I may turn on the topo later to look at it when I'm laying out septics. I'm basically doing 3 10-acre lots on 50 some acres of real estate.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. Okay.
Um,
So you've got a couple of things you can do. You can open their file, which
okay,
looks
now
like
there is no CRD file with this.
correct.
They,
Correct.
they claimed there wasn't one.
Yeah, well, it could be. And but which case you can create points where you need them on the geometry.
Right. And
You can
that's what I was
also
just going to do, just screen pick the corners, which is really what I need.
right. So you can also, like if you needed, although I don't think you can do it with survey, but with civil, you could see these spot elevations, which
Yeah,
are usually just, it's a piece of text and it's a block, or sometimes it's just line work that draws the X. Well, Carlson Civil has ways of reading those and creating points out of those as well. But again, we don't need those. Um, but with survey, what you would do is if you needed these, you would just do a draw locate point and you would snap to the intersection of those two, or snap to the insert. Since that's a block, you could turn your O snap on for insert, and then you just go click, 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 and you could get all of those as you needed. Okay, but again, we don't need those. All you're going to need is the stuff on the corners and things like that. Okay,
right.
so there's two things to do. You can, like what you've done now, looks like you've opened their drawing. Okay, so you don't have any of your title block stuff, your layouts, your layers, any of that. Okay.
Right, right.
So what you need to do then is to bring this drawing into a new drawing that you create. Okay. And
Okay.
there's several things we can do there. We can go into a new drawing and then do something like
Okay, well, I've already got the new drawing. It's up there in the tab.
okay, it's this
Yes.
cubic or cubic or whatever.
Right.
Okay.
And I just did I went in and did an inverse to this corner here, and I created the corner based on an aerial one in this file based on the tax map, and
Uh,
they're within a couple of feet, so I'm comfortable that we're on the same datum and everything.
okay, good. Um, So here's a couple of things you can do. Back over in, or with this drawing open, you can do things like this. If I isolate the layers that I want, let's say if all I'm wanting is this boundary and, oh, let's get, looks like that's what the uh, adjusted. Let's get maybe this one. Okay, just as an example. So we've isolated these things, okay? Now, if you want that into your drawing, as long as, and here's a couple things you got to make sure of. One, that you're see this icon down here that's got the little square around it that tells you that you are in the world coordinate system. So you got to make sure you're there. You're not in any kind of a rotated coordinate system. And you could have a rotated view on the screen, but as long as you see that little square down there, that tells you you're in the world coordinate system. So as long as you're in the same coordinate system as your drawing, then you can do it like this. You can take anything that you select. And again, you don't have to isolate the layers, but let's just say, and we'll do this. All right, so we're going to select all of this information. Then we can right click or go to the edit menu, but it's easier to right click and go down to clipboard. And you want to copy with base point. And the base point it's going to ask you in the command line, you're just going to type 0, 0. So that's going to be your base. And then over in your drawing, you're going to go over, where you are here, you're going to right click clipboard and paste to original coordinates. Okay, and when you do that, then as soon as it does a zoom extents here, I understand what's going on with this. Because this one works fine. This one,
Uh-oh. Oh, I see.
I'm still not getting any response out of your drawing
Yeah, me either.
on my screen. Let me see something here. If I close that, save the changes. Now let's open that again. And that's this one here. Okay, so there now that's the result of it. And we're in your cubic. I'm going to put that back over here, just the same arrangement you had. So I'm now in your cubic drawing, and somewhere is your 200 point.
It's up there. It's right
Oh,
there.
all right, so there it is. So that's one way you can go into this other drawing and just take the things that you want. And it's easier, like I said, if you wanted the vegetation, you could then just isolate that, or you could isolate all of the the typical text layers like that. And looks like there's all of those calls. Then you could take, the things that you want, just select them, right click clipboard, or if you wanted it on the edit menu, it's under clipboard, copy with base point, 0, 0. And then over in your drawing, right click clipboard, paste to original coordinates. Or if you just said paste, it's going to ask you for the insertion point. You would type 0, 0 again.
Okay, now I actually don't think I have the boundary on this. I don't think that blue line is the boundary.
Okay, and that's fine now, but and we could just go over here now and then uh you could isolate that, or if you knew that, say this is the boundary right here, for instance.
One of them is.
Yeah, so you've got property line. Now that's just the one thing that I selected. I didn't isolate that layer, but You know, you could do that just to make sure you can get everything that's on there. Or you could even isolate, you know, all of those layers, some of which are the deed and some of which is the boundary. So now you've got deed already. So we just grabbed. So if that's the boundary, then you could take that, do that same thing, copy and clipboard, copy with the base, and then paste the original. Okay, so that's one way. Now let's go back over here and I'm going to select everything and I'm going to deselect your point. And then delete that and show you another way to bring all of this in wholesale. Okay, so now nothing's in here. Everything's over here. Now you can do, let's bring it all in. You could do the same thing with everything turned on and thawed. You could select it, clipboard, copy 00, paste over in yours. Or instead of doing it by that copy paste, which puts those entities straight into your drawing, you can also do it two other ways. There's one way is that you can insert that drawing like a block and then explode it or have it explode when it gets inserted. That's usually the best way of getting everything. The other is that you can XREF that, you know, as an external reference and bring it in, and then it stays separate from your drawing, but you can work with the geometry, but it's a little difficult, you know, because you can't grab one of those pieces of boundary and copy it and move it over somewhere else. Because when you select it, it selects the entire thing as a single entity called an XREF. You can, however, snap to endpoints and do all of those different things. So either of those two methods, the one I would recommend would be to insert it as a block and just bring in, and that brings in everything in that drawing that's in there. So if you go, I'm going to talk you through it just to let you do it. Go to the, you're going to insert it as a block. So the insert is on the bottom of the draw menu. And it's right there. Okay. Now, instead of block name, you're going to choose from file and you'll navigate and find that file. Okay. And now, and before you do that, you see where it says insertion point, scale, and rotation. You can uncheck those because you want the insertion point to come in as 0, 0, because that's going to line it up with with those same coordinates. So uncheck that so that it forces it into coming into 0, 0. Same thing with that. Make sure that's 1 and then rotation is east. Now, before you insert that, if you were to insert it at this point, it's going to come in and again act like a single entity that you would have to explode if you wanted all of those things to be separate. And that is what we want. So instead of having to do that as a secondary step, Andy creates a block definition and stores that in the drawing even after you've exploded it. If you just check explode now, when it comes in, it does exactly like copy and paste does. And the results will be you've got those drawn entities in your drawing added to whatever is already in your drawing. In your case, the point and all of those layout tabs. And so you just hit the insert button now, and then here it all comes. And now you're going to get everything, but then you can, you know, freeze off those layers that you don't want
Don't
to.
want,
Yeah. But then you still have them in case you ever want to go back to them.
right.
Okay.
But I have all my regular layers too.
That is correct. You look at
Okay.
your layer list and look at your, but now you've also not only got your layers, but you see you've got the ones that they had defined as well. Because when you bring that in, it doesn't know whatever they put, whatever layer they put something on, it doesn't know what to call that layer in your drawing, so it just brings it in. You can, move all those to a different layer name if you need to, like their V dash prop dash deed or whatever, if you wanted to put that on your layer called boundary dash flat, whatever, you would just, gather up all those things and change their layer, just
Right.
like you normally would. Okay.
Right.
So everything is in just like it is in their drawing, but now it's been incorporated into your drawing and you're off to the races. Now, there is another thing, I think. Let me just look and see if it's here. If you import a standard import, yeah, you can also do that. So let's do this, undo. Okay, so instead of doing the draw insert as a block, if you go straight to file, import, and you do a standard import, and then down here making sure it says drawing files, then you're going to find that right there. And that will do, the file you select is already open. It will now be the, no, that's not what I wanted. All right, have you made any changes to this that you need to keep?
No.
All right, so if it's not open, then now if we, apparently that's, there we go. No, that's not right. We shouldn't be doing that. All right, so disregard that import. That import should be bringing that into your drawing. Imports various file formats into AutoCAD. Okay, so that's really more like if you're going to open, a MicroStation file or a PDF, these different things, and it opens it up into its own file. So we opened a DWG file, so it didn't have to do any changing. Okay, so that doesn't work the same way it does in other software. Like in MicroStation, if you import a file, even if it's a MicroStation file, it imports it into your drawing. Okay, so sorry about the wrong turn. You can flush that from your memory banks and still go with the draw insert. That's probably your most direct way.
Okay.
Now, one thing that I would like to double check on, because I don't know if that file that they sent you was made in Civil 3D, probably was not if it's got any age to it. But if you look under File, Import, Civil 3D, let's see what happens if we look at that file. Let's see if it can find any. No, apparently not. Let's try it under this one and see if that finds anything. Import Civil 3D. Coordinate file. So let's just call it a new one called cubic, except let's put it in here. Cubic from,
And why are you doing this differently than the way you did it the first time?
just to see if there's any Civil 3D information in that file. Because if there is, it would identify, see all the things down on a command line that shows center line surfaces, line work pipes. So it's looking at that file and seeing if there is any Civil 3D information in it. And if it had, let's say they had modeled this terrain to be able to draw the contours, If they did all this in Civil 3D, well, that object, that surface object would be part of this file, but Carlson can't use that directly. It has to import those things. And so what it does is it scans this file, and if it finds any of those kinds of things, it will then prompt you to give it a file name and save it. And you would save it as a, you know, in the case of a surface file, you would save it as a .tin. If it was, if it found coordinates, then it would, that's why it asked us to name that coordinate file. So it didn't find anything. And so there's nothing in it. And our list points should probably still show as 0 points. Yeah, see, there's no points. So it's all clean. There was no Civil 3D information in that file, so that part's good. All right, so now back to there again. I'm going to let you go ahead again, do the draw insert and bring it in as the block explode.
Okay.
You're on the, there you go. Yep, exactly right. And you wanted to make sure that those check boxes up above where you could control what, you know, whether you're going to be prompted for the points and the rotation and all that, you make sure they're unchecked so it comes in exactly like what you'd expect. Okay. And now now you can save your drawing, and you can even, if you go to your GIS menu, if you need it, of course, you've got aerial mapping. You've got aerial photography that you could load into this to check with it anyway, with all of those things you've got from the state. Plus, you can also just go to the GIS menu, I think,
Yeah,
maybe,
let me go ahead and create a geo image box here.
yeah. And obviously you can do the work without bringing in aerial imagery, but this can help confirm stuff for you, so.
Okay, I'm glad I did that because I really need to take this
Trim it
all
down,
the way
yeah.
out. Oops. It wasn't letting me drag that.
I don't know. Try, yeah, try that.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that looks pretty good.
All right.
Okay, now let me get my cheat sheet here, so I never remember how to do this
Yeah.
image
Quick.
frame.
Image frame just turns on the image outline so you can select the image. So you want to, yeah, so
It's
that's,
already selected it too, isn't it?
so,
So it
yeah,
shouldn't be
so,
there.
um,
So I just need to
now
find the end of it.
what you want to do is, yeah, you'll scroll out till you get the end of the imagery. There it is.
Okay, then I hit, I type in, let's see, I'll escape from that and type in image clip,
Correct.
image clip. What image clip? Oh.
Excellent.
Okay, and there I am.
That's right. Now, in case you ever are anywhere,
Go ahead and save this real quick.
yeah, there you go. Okay, so in case you're ever in an area that you don't have the aerial coverage for,
Yeah,
there's one other thing that you can also do with that. It's not quite as accurate, but it at least can give you reassurance that you're in the right ballpark. And that is, in fact, if we go to, I'm gonna make a new quick layer here just called Google. We'll sit there. And I'm going to freeze your geo image layer. So now you can, let's say you don't have that coverage or you're in an area that's not underneath all of that. If you go to your GIS menu, you go to images, you can place a Google Earth image. Okay, so that's not from the same. This is just from Google Earth. And
okay,
it asks you to select an output file. So you're in your folder and you're just going to call it Google aerial or anything like that. You see these JPG, JPEG, PNG, TIF, and BMP. So you want to use either the JPG or the PNG is usually the one I use. That's the most efficient format. That's called portable network graphics. Doesn't really matter. And if you just leave the extension off, I think it defaults to JPG to a JPEG, so that's fine.
okay,
Anyway, you're giving it a name for it to hold. And now it wants you to either pick from the screen or use a map. And if you said from the screen, which is what you normally would do if you have something already drawn, and let's zoom out a little bit here so we can sort of figure out where we're going. If you said map, it's going to take you off to a web map and let you choose it. But if we say screen, then we can pick, I'll say something like this to this, okay? And so we give it those bounding boxes, and then you're going to see this stuff at the bottom of the command line to see where it's reading all that stuff and coming in. It's going out and finding that Google imagery, and it brings in like this, lets you set the layer, place it in the background. So I'm just going to set this on Google just so we can, it's all on that same layer anyway. And now you see this resolution.
yeah,
If we're zoomed out probably far enough to where, you know, we picked a large enough area that we can't really get the high resolution in there. But if
right,
we zoomed in tighter, it might be available, but it's not. So it'll come up to the highest that you can get. So let's just go with a medium. And then you've got these different types. There's road maps, you know, like a just where they draw the roads and give you the names,
right,
aerial or hybrid. And of course, terrain would give you that 3D type of terrain mapping. But usually just for the aerial, we'll take a look and we'll say, okay. And then when that finishes, that's going to bring in the very same thing that you would see at this height in Google Earth. Now there's that road out here that you were that you stretched yours out to get that corner of these two properties out here.
mm-hmm,
So anyway, there's what that looks like. And then you can compare. In fact, if you zoom in down here and uh, sort of keep your eye on that as I turn back on that other uh, layer, this geo image, you'll see that. Uh, oops, sorry. Let me bring it back on, and then now yours is on, and yours looks really, really nice and tight right through there, as it should, because it's survey accurate or
right.
photogrammetry accurate. Um, but otherwise, you know, you can You see how that misses, and it's fuzzier anyway. So,
Yeah, right.
but like I said, if you don't have that high accurate stuff, then you still can bring that in just for nice the verification and all of that. So um we'll bring that back, and it's got your nice leaf off, nice and accurate, nice and crisp, and that should get you going.
Very good.
All right.
Thank
Uh
you, sir.
yeah, anything else that on that, or is that pretty much what you needed?
No, that's what I needed.
Okay. So yeah,
I've
just
got
keep
plenty to
that,
work with now.
yeah, so just keep that in mind. If you need everything that's in another drawing, as long as you're, in the same coordinate system and everything, of course, you're gonna, set yours up to make sure you're in West Virginia north or whatever. Um, you can either take the whole thing in like you did with the draw, insert, and then make sure these check boxes are not checked and the explode is checked so that when it comes in, it's just like you brought in a block and then you exploded the block, but there's no block definition safe. So that's the most efficient to get everything in. However, if you only wanted a few things out of any other drawing, just select them. You can either isolate the layer they're on and then grab them and then do that. Let's say if we only wanted, some text and a polyline or two, once it's selected, you're going to go to right click or edit clipboard, copy with the base point, then go over to your drawing and you're going to go to right click clipboard, paste to original coordinates, or just paste. And when it asks you for a coordinate, you would type in that same coordinate as long as they match. Okay. Now, there's one other thing you can do with that, even when you're not in the same coordinate space. Let's say I've had this, looks like that's, maybe that outline boundary or something. So if I did this, and let's say this was done on a map that was at 5,000, 5,000,
Oh,
nothing.
it's the map limit. It's the limit of the topo.
Okay, all right. But so what I'm going to show you just an example is, let's say you had something in the other drawing, or maybe everything, whatever you get selected. When you do that, right click clipboard, copy with the base point. Now, I would normally type 0, 0. I go back into my drawing and I paste to original coordinates. But let's say I didn't know, let's say they did that in 5,000, 5,000. And so maybe I had a corner that I have in my drawing, say this, the end of this line here that I could see, I had something else. So I would select that as my base point. See, it's asking me down here, select base point.
Yeah.
So if I select that as my base point, okay, so now that's all I've done was selected that and copied it based on that point. I now go over to here, and instead of, let me just temporarily freeze that off. Instead of, instead of, and if I did this, if I said right clipboard, if I did paste to original, it would come right in where it came from. But if I just said paste, now you see it says, give me an insertion point. All right, well, maybe that point was something over here that in my file, at state plane coordinates, I came out of 5,000, 5,000. So I could line it up here. It's sort of like doing an align. So I could bring it in based on that base point, then ask me another point. So if I've got a point that I know where it is in both drawings, then I can bring that in. So like your 200 point up there, maybe that's all I knew. And I knew that that was this corner. I could have done that. And then you can do an align, or you can do a rotate, scaling, any of those kind of things. So it's not just it's not just right click, clipboard, copy of the base point. It's always 0, 0, and it's always paste to original. That only works if everything's in the same coordinate space. But
Right.
even if it's not, you can get anything you want from one drawing into another using that clipboard operation. Okay. And not just that. But in yours, let's go to Kubrick and let's go here to your, say, cover sheet. And let's say we wanted to take this, your general notes, and let's get, say, this scale information. So I've selected that. Now I'm going to right click and choose clipboard, copy with base point. And again, I could pick any point I want, but let's say I'm going to come down here and grab that lower left corner of my sheet of paper. Okay. Down now, that's what I've got. Now, again, I came out of paper space, which wouldn't matter because I can put it anywhere I want it, even in another drawing. So if I were over to here and let's say I wanted to, and I was making myself another page here, and I put in, I'm not going to take the time to to put all that up, but let's say I had a a title block sitting here, and I wanted all of that stuff to come in. Now it's not going to scale right. I think that's probably an A size sheet. But if I right click clipboard, paste, and now it's going to ask me where. Well, I'm going to snap it to that same corner, and then all of that stuff will come here. Okay. Now notice I've got this text, which is style standard, whereas in yours, it's also style standard, but your standard is defined as a different style.
Right.
Okay. But I still got it. So I could just go here and make my standard. Oops, sorry. I would just redefine my standard to do the same as you've got on yours as to Arial. Line, okay, and then it's going to work. Okay. Now, and this one, the bar scale is red because that layer apparently already existed called boundary in this file, and it's that color. That's also a style called p-text, the one that says scale in feet. Interesting. I wonder why it's using that.
Okay, this is something I'll never remember.
Right. Well, no, I want you to just extend your thinking that anything you want to move back and forth between drawings, even between paper space. Like if I need something from this paper space, if I need this big word draft, and I want to put it in the exact same place over here on access easement, even within, well, you've already got one, say here under cover sheet, then when you select something, right click, clipboard, copy with base point. Now, see, that's different than copy in your CAD speak. Now I'm going from this upper left corner because when you copy using a CAD copy, that has to be all within the same space. But when you're changing spaces, use the clipboard. And so now I'm going to paste, and now it asked me for that. I would paste it right up there. Okay, I'm not going to do it. I just show you how it works. I'll escape. Okay, so even, paper space layout to paper space layout, model to model, when you go from one file, the model space, into the other file, model space, that's how you can do that with that right click copy, give it a base point in the source location. And then when you right click clipboard paste, give it a insertion point that's going to be the same base point. So if it's all the same, if coordinates match, you just type copy with base point, and you would say 0, 0, and then you can copy to original coordinates. So your paste, I'm sorry, paste to original coordinates. See right there?
Right.
Or if you paste, then it's going to ask you to show it that base point that you want to paste it into.
Right.
So that's how you can shift coordinates on it, right? And that's it. It's just a variation on that same right click clipboard.
Okay,
So
let me ask you another question while I've
sure.
got you here.
Okay.
When I pick scales for a drawing, I always start at 100 scale when I'm setting up the file,
Uh-huh.
which doesn't always work. And what I do is I go to the final plat and unlock this and get the drawing in there and then see what scale it is, and then I'll pick a scale and go back and do that. But is there a way of just looking at this model and knowing I've got to fit this on the sheet of determining what scale that should be?
Yeah. Yeah, you can, what I would usually do is if you take you can draw a rectangle, like what size sheet are you going to put it on, like inches by inches? Uh,
18 by 24.
all right, so an 18 by 24. So you're going to draw a rectangle. And just off here to the side somewhere, you're going to click a spot. And now, oops, let me see here. If I draw a rectangle, just off to the side, I'm going to click a spot and it wants to know the other corner. Well, you see your choices down there. There's dimensions and all that kind of stuff. Or you can just type the at symbol, which means go relative to the point you last clicked. So I'm going to go at, and it's X comma Y. So X will be 24 comma 18. So that's go to the right 24 units and go up 18 units. Okay. So there that is, but now those are inches. Okay. So if I need to see how big I'm going to make that to fit my drawing, I can make, and this is it at 1-to-1. So if I want to, let's say I'm going to first make a copy of that. I'll just bring it over here to the side. And in fact, let's do that. A couple of different sizes here. Okay. So now here was my original drawn at 18 by 24. No, that's 18 units, 24 units. In this case, it's 18 feet on the ground, 24 feet on the ground. All right. But I needed to figure out, how's it going to fit my particular geometry. So you're going to do a couple of scalings. We're going to say, take this, select one, and if we scale it, you see their standard old scale over here. I'm going to say scale. What is my scale if I wanted to make that? So 1 inch of that paper, let's say if it was going to be 100 feet, that inch equals 100 feet. So one of those units really needs to be 100, but 100 inches, so times 12. So that's going to be a 1200 scale. So I'm going to click, just right there on that corner, and I'm going to give it a scale factor of 1200. Okay, so that's 1 inch equals 100.
It can't be.
Yeah, apparently I
No,
did
no
something.
way.
No, I know. That's something. What is my distance here? Wow, I must have, I don't know what I did wrong. Let's see here. Oh, it's 1200 divided by 18, 18 by 24. So what is 18? Wait a minute, I've got 18 by 24. Oh, I know what it did. This is actually in feet right now. So if I scale that, I'm going to scale here. I'm going to say reference. The base scale would be 12, reference is 1. All right, so now it's in inches. So if I look at that distance from here to here, that's one. No, what the heck? That's 1.5. So that's the number of feet. That's 18 inches. Yeah, that's right. So that's in inches. That's what,
I'm in a Zoom meeting.
All right, is it okay if I come up here?
Sure.
all right. So that's now in inches. So if I now copy this over here and I'll make a couple of copies here, just so we can try a couple of different things. So now if I scale this, let's scale this one right here, and let's make that by 100. So that would be 1 inch equals 100 feet. And if I look at that, does that look? No, sorry, not 100, but 1200. $1,200. And now, there's your 1 inch equals 100 feet and how it would fit. Okay. Now, it could be that you would rotate it and put everything, maybe uh, maybe something might line up like that. It just depends on how you want to do your, um,
I'll probably make it bigger than.
yeah. So instead of, put this guy back over here. So there's your 100. And I would just try a couple of different things. And if you needed to do, like 3 of them at 50 scale, though, that's fine too. But now to go to 200 scale, from 100 scale to 200 scale, I would make that 2400 as my ratio. Right, so there now is my 1 inch equals 200 scale drawing. And then that would fit like so. Okay. So there's your 100, there's 200. If you had, let's say 50, we'll take this one here and we'll go from here and we'll say 600. So that's now a 50, 1 inch equals 50 feet. And let's go ahead and make this different colors so we can see it. We're going to copy that. And so if you needed to make, multiple sheets, you could do figure out your overlap. Basically having individual tiles to draw your individual, your multiple sheets and your layouts over here. Okay.
Right.
And then when you do these, in fact, let me just get rid of that. If you let's say if you needed to do that to make those separate ones, then when you would go to, let's just make a new layout here, we'll call it sheet 1. And let's make you page setup manager. There's an 18 by 24, which that's 12/18. That's, what is that, a C? I
Yeah.
get, yeah, 18 by 24. All right, so now I've got an 18 by 24 inch sheet. All right, so there would be that. Now I would take this as my viewport, which it already has a viewport predefined. And you would make it as to whatever um, size it needed to be. Now I've made those Where's my stuff? Okay. Ah, that's why I've got straight point over here. No, it's a piece of text. This comes out of CG settings. Or it's a text that says CG settings. So apparently somebody used the old Cowherd and Goodman software to do this with. All right, so now when I zoom that in, so if I set this now to be 50 scale, it's going to zoom up. Now those, you see the frames, and then I would keep it there, but I'm going to pan it around until I get the frame boundary down here within where I wanted. Of course, you know, it really, if I put it all the way to the corner, then the other corner would be up in there at the edge of my paper, but you're not seeing the frame boundary. So, you know, you would have that, and you would then lock your viewport, and then the next sheet you did, you see, you would label this in this page. You might call that a match line.
Yeah.
And then you go there. So, you know, you can do all that as a exercise, you know, however you would like it. You can delete, just right click and delete this layout tab if you want later, that's fine. But that's sort of a way, what I would do is I would draw the rectangle. Let me get, see, what layer am I on? I'm on Google, might as well erase by layer. Get rid of all those rectangles. So now I'll step you through doing it here. So if you're going to draw, you want to draw your page boundary, or in your case, an 18 by 24 sheet, you might want to make it say 15 by 20. So you got some margin to play with, you know, just because you're not going to fill up the whole paper edge to paper edge. So I would just go to draw a rectangle and click a corner, just anywhere on the screen. There you go. And now you want to type the @ symbol.
What's the dimensions?
Oh, I don't, well, if you go ahead and type D for dimensions, or click on it, there you go, either one. It wants to know a length and a width. So we did, if you're going to do 15 inches by 20 inches, so let's say 20 inches is our length. If you type 20, I think you might be able to type 20/12. Okay, well, that's all right. 20, now go ahead and say 15. Okay, and it says one of the things too large extent. One of seen objects. I have no idea what that means.
There it is, way down there.
Yeah, but I don't know why it gave that little warning. But now those are in feet. So here's what I was looking for, is if we did whoop. Where was it? It went away on us. All right, well, let's do one here. So if I do dimensions, if I want 20 inches, if I say 20, I think I can do this. I'm not sure. And then 15 divided by 12. We do want to see if it'll work. And then we specify the other corner. No. Well, maybe, let's see. It's certainly small. Let's do a distance. So we said 15, so that should be 1 1/4. That's it. It's exactly right. So here we go. Go ahead and clear that out. Come back out to there. Now, Go ahead and draw your rectangle. Click a point. And now it asks you to either pick the other point, or you can type D for dimensions. And now the length, we're going to do 15 by 20. So you're going to do 20/12, meaning 20 divided by 12. So that's that many inches. So it's 20 feet divided by 12 inches per foot. So now we hit enter. The height's going to be 15/12. Enter. And now you see it's asking you to specify the other corner point or blah, blah, blah. So I think if you just hit enter, it should finish it. Now zoom down there and see if you've got it. No. All right, so here's what you got to do. Go back through that real quick again. Go draw a rectangle and then put your dimensions in. Yeah, so D for dimensions, 20/12. Enter. 15/12. Enter. And now when it's asking you to specify the other corner point, all you need to do is just click the left button on the mouse. So you apparently it was looking for that finish, and it should have taken. There we go. What the heck is it doing way down there? Huh. Something really strange going on. Let me see. Zoom window. The zoom extends and it blows everything way up. So, huh. All right, I'm going to find that 0.200. And now I'm going to zoom center. Let's see. Not center. I'm going to zoom. There a scale? Yeah, scale. Well, just keep zooming in. How about that's find point 200. Oops, by number 200. There it is. Now,
How in the world did this happen?
I don't have a clue. See, it's selecting
How
one
about
thing.
if we just exit it and without saving it, come back into it?
We could do that. It certainly would be. In fact, we can close that. Don't need to save that one either. Oops. So there's now that. Yeah, I don't know that I would use that dimensions thing. That's a Carlson added thing. And
Yeah, I don't think I will.
I would just, if you draw it by,
Well, it looks to me like the simplest way to do it is to do it the way I've been doing it.
yeah,
Just
that's not,
see what
because
fits
you
in
can
the
go
drawing.
to the nearest, nominal scale once you see what it is, but you could, if you just do the at and then say 20/12 comma 15/12. That will do that same thing. Let me make sure that that got me the distance. So that should be 1 1/4 from there to there. And it is, okay. And so then you would take that and then just do your scaling. And again, it's in inches, so I'm going to scale it from there. And I would say 200 times 12, which of course would be 2,400. And there now is your 1 inch equals 200 foot square. Look at that. It's almost exactly like your image. So,
Yep, that looks like that's it.
okay. So that's one way to sort of get a sense of what scale to make those over there.
Okay, Ken, it's just after 12 and I've got to go, I'm afraid.
Yep, absolutely. Same here. We'll get back and let me stop our recording. I will send you everything and